Welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're going to make an easy American goulash one-pan meal. Everything you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make this, and I got to tell you, this is something that if you haven't had it before, it really is great because it has tomatoes and beef and pasta and all this flavor going on for something that's so easy to make. You can make it in really a large skillet or a large pot, whichever you want to make it in. And it's just one of these things that you'll probably want to make over and over again because it's that easy and that good. So what we're going to do is take a medium onion and we're going to cut this up into like little pieces. We don't really need big ones for this. We're just going to slice through it. However you want to do it is fine. Just make sure that you cut it up into pieces so that way we got something to work with here. And after we're done with this, we're going to set the onion to the side until we're ready for it, because you're going to need to get, like I said, a large skillet, and then if you don't have that, maybe even a pan that you can put this in to make it all fit. I'm going to start out in my skillet with about like 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and to this I'm adding at least 1.5 pounds of ground beef. You can add up to 2 if you want to, because if you really like a lot of meat in it, that's probably perfectly fine. Go ahead, start cooking this, and we're going to cook it about halfway through before we add anything else to it. So this is probably going to take about a good 5 minutes or so to do this, and it's going to look something like this. And then we're going to add that onion in that we cut up already. And then after we get this onion all through here and mix it up really well, we're going to add in some peppers. So this is where red and green peppers come into play in just a minute. But we want to cook this just another 4 or 5 minutes once the onions and peppers hit the pan, just so they have a time to cook, especially since I'm using frozen version of red peppers and green peppers, just for the fact that it's a lot less expensive to buy it that way. So get those onions mixed in, and then bring in 1/4 cup of your peppers, and you can mix that up however you want. You want more red than green or more green than red, it's okay. I kind of split it halfway. Put them in, and like I said, mine were frozen, but they're going to cook pretty quickly. But we're going to leave this for about 5 minutes cooking, so that way we know they're going to be cooked through and they're going to be ready to use. So just go ahead and mix them through. Stir occasionally as this is cooking. We just want to make sure that it actually gets everything heated up. And then when we hit the 5-minute marker, we're going to start adding in some other things to this. But we just want to make sure this is totally done. Now, if you have a lot of grease in your pan, go ahead and remove it before we add anything else to this. And if you are ready at this point, we're going to go ahead and add in about 1.5 tablespoons of minced garlic to this, because this is going to give it a kick of flavor, and it's just something really wonderful to put into the mix. But we don't want to cook this for a very long time without moving it around, because you only need that garlic in there for like 30 seconds to a minute. Then after that it could scorch and it has a really bad taste, so we want to move it around before we start adding other things to this, but don't leave it for more than a minute cooking. That's going to give it a chance to get all that flavor in there. But then once we get this all mixed up, the next thing we're going to add to this is 1 cup of beef broth. Now basically we're just going to put this in, mix it up, and we're going to add ingredients one after the other to get this going. So go ahead and mix that broth through what you already have. Then we're going to bring in 2 cans of diced tomatoes, which are Italian flavor, and those are the 14.5 ounce cans, so dump them both in. And then after that we're going to add 27 ounces of tomato sauce. Now this is going to be a really big jar of tomato sauce. Usually they're about 27 ounces, but if you're in a neighborhood and it's at 28, 29, 30, you're probably fine with using that. So go ahead and dump in that sauce, and then we're going to go ahead and mix this up a little bit, and then we're going to add some things to flavor this in just a minute. So go ahead and mix through, get everything totally mixed together, so that way your tomatoes, your sauce, and everything with what was in there goes in. And if you're wondering what I did with that jar, I just put a little liquid in there to rinse it out to get all of the tomato out. So our next step to this, we're going to need 1.5 tablespoons of soy sauce. And we're just going to pour this over top of what we already have mixed here together. And once you get that in there, then we're going to add in a bunch of seasoning. So just dump your soy sauce right over top. Doesn't matter how you put it in. And then after this, we are adding 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, just all over the top of it. This is all going to get mixed up in a second anyway. And then we have 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning and 1 teaspoon of paprika. And again, all over the top of this. Once it's all in, we're going to go ahead and mix this. And that way all these seasonings, everything we put in here is going to have a chance to work all through this completely. But then after we're done, we're going to put a lid on this and bring it up to a boil, because we want to really get this pot hot before we do anything else with it. So during the time that, you know, this is sitting and heating, just make sure that lid stays on. Then we want to actually reduce the heat down to medium. And we're going to let it cook for about 15 minutes. But we want to get it to boiling before we get to that point. So just go ahead and make sure you've done that. And then after this is cooked for 15 minutes, we're going to stir it up a bit, and then we're going to add in our macaroni. So as you can see, there's already a lot going on in my skillet right here. It's so many things that have so much amazing taste to it that you can't really go wrong with this, I'm telling you. So like I said, 2 cups of macaroni noodles. And then what we're going to do is put the lid back on and cook for another 20 minutes. So we want to make sure these noodles get completely cooked, but we're cooking it at medium still. We're going to keep it at that temperature. Now, this is one of these things where after you get to the 20-minute marker, it's going to be thicker because all of this is going to start to thicken up. And when you take the lid off, you will notice that. But you're going to need to mix it up once we get to that marker, and then afterwards, we're going to actually turn off the heat to let it cool down a little bit to thicken even more. So now we're back after the 20 minutes of cooking. And as you can see, a lot of that liquid cooked in, which is really good. That's what we wanted to see, because the noodles absorbed a lot of it. And this is really pretty much to the point of where we want it. But what we're going to do is, like I said, turn off that heat, let it thicken up for, you know, maybe 3-4 minutes or so before you even think about taking it out of this pan, because we really want it to have a chance to air out a little bit and not be so hot. And then we're going to plate it up. But when we plate it, we're going to put some cheese on top of it, because the cheese just helps out. It's just one of those things where it makes it really wonderful. So this is my plate. I had some garlic bread on there, and just spooning some of this onto the plate before we get ready for the cheese, which you put as much as you want on there. It's your plate, you know what I mean? It's just going to be your option. And this already looks amazing, but it's going to get even better with cheese. So I have some sliced mozzarella, which I'm going to lay some of these slices over the top. And then I'm going to sprinkle it with some Parmesan. And how much cheese you put on is really your decision. You can use a little, you can use a lot. However you do it's fine. Now, this cheese will melt because of the heat of this just coming out of the pan. If it doesn't do it fast enough for you, you can always pop this in the microwave for about like 20 seconds to help it along. But once you get all your cheese on top, you are ready to eat. And I gotta tell you, this has such a great taste. This is something that I'm sure you're gonna like, because it's just something you want to make, like, God knows, like every month or something, for a dinner one night or a lunch, because it just has that great of taste to it. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out the Southern Mountain Kitchen website, where you can get a free recipe, check out the cookbooks available from the Southern Mountain Kitchen, and if you'd like to, you could order a cookbook at a discounted price, cheaper than Amazon, with shipping that is also cheaper than Amazon. So if you get a chance, check it out, and I hope you have a great day.